Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this very, very exciting preview of a prototype of the I'm Here deck by Murphy Pines. Okay, y'all, if you have not seen my hot takes from like yesterday or the day before, depending on when this video goes up, check that out to hear my initial squealing and freaking out about this deck, which is currently on Kickstarter. And if you were having a hard time seeing the deck, it's because it blends in so perfectly with this fabric. And I'm sorry, but this particular fabric match with this particular deck is absolutely too perfect for me to not use, even if it means we'll have to zoom in real close so you can actually see the cards. But like, hello, do you like what's happening? Look at how perfect. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just have a moment for a moment, but normally I do like to pick something a little more contrasting, but I couldn't not. So perfect. Anyways, if you haven't already heard the story, this deck is currently funding on Kickstarter, and at the time that I'm filming this video, it has surpassed its funding goal, and we've hit 2 of the stretch goals. So this is a just for fun, full flip through, full first impressions of the entire deck. This is a prototype copy of the deck, so this is not the final packaging. This isn't what the final cardstock is going to be. You know the drill, hopefully. But I've done this kind of thing before. Typically, prototypes are they're just samples, right? They're meant to give the artist an opportunity to check their artwork and the way that it looks in a card format, you know, just play with it a little bit. So there are going to be some different cardstock situations and some different box situations. It's going to be in a 2-piece box. There's going to be holographic edging, all kinds of things. But with all that babbly babble aside, I'm really excited to get into this. Can you tell? I'm really excited because this deck was created by somebody who themselves has been very open about their past with CPTSD, with depression, with trauma, with eating disorders, this sort of thing, and looking to I guess communicate through their artwork the idea that we can express our emotions, that we can sit with our emotions, that we can move through experiences and be whole. And that is just something that speaks my speak. If you guys know my story at all, if you are familiar with the kind of work that I am really drawn to, you'll know that healing, and particularly in some of these areas, right, particularly where CPTSD is concerned or where certain experiences are concerned, I really just relate very, very strongly to that idea of learning to embrace, accept, and sit with our emotions. And I've experimented with several decks in the past that have kind of skirted through this area, and certainly there is at least one deck for sure in my collection right now that I love doing this kind of work with. But this one has a really unique flavor and something, I just love how it's blending. But this has a very unique flavor, and I'm really, really, really excited to get into it. And as I mentioned in my hot takes video, which I'll link somewhere so you guys can check it out, but as I mentioned in there, so many of you were like, Lisa, you have to see this deck. Like, you have to check it out. Go check it out. And you all clearly know what I'm all about because it's exactly speaking my speak. So know that going into this, I'm incredibly excited. Know that going into this, I've already backed the deck on Kickstarter. I'm all in as it is already. So I'm obviously going in predisposed to really be excited about this. So just know that that is definitely my bias in this particular situation. But I'm really excited for the actual full Kickstarter to come out. I'm going to read you what it says here on the back of the box because I think it's great. It says, take some time to care for your inner child, hang out with your higher self, be present with the wonderful you. I'm Here is a deck of 50 cards that explores ideas for gentle ways to heal and connect with yourself. Each card has been digitally illustrated by artist Murphy Pines and accompanied with some writings that explore the ideas even further in the included booklet. Now, I don't have a booklet or anything here. This is just a prototype of the deck. But I will say that I took a look at the Kickstarter campaign, and I looked at the at a picture of the inside of the guidebook, like a mock-up, and discovered that, look at how pretty that is, and discovered that there were like little questions for reflection or prompts in the guidebook that got me really excited. So I'm hoping that format is going to stay for the final version. It just blends. It just blends. Anyways, these have these adorable rainbow cloud background on them. And the final version will have holographic rainbow sides that match, like white holographic edging that matches this kind of rainbow aesthetic, which is really exciting. This particular prototype is, again, a very thin kind of cardstock that is not going to be the cardstock on the final version. So if they seem a little bit thin as I'm flipping through them, just know that, again, this is just a prototype. So let's zoom in real close and take a look. And I do have actually also, before I forget, I want to grab, I have at least one deck that I know I want to put beside this as a sample pairing in a little bit. And I want to have that close at hand. So I'm just going to make sure that that's handy. And now we're going to get into the flip through. So these are in alphabetical order, and there are 50. Let's zoom in nice and close so we can see the cards against this beautiful background. One thing I do appreciate before we get too deep into this is that all these characters are completely gender neutral. They're like little ghost spirit kind of creatures. So they don't have, and this is one of the things I've always loved about decks like the Mons Tarot, which actually I would say does bring some gender, at least gender presentations into the deck. This one is wholly gender neutral. There's no clothing or other things that might give you a feeling for a type of gender or gender presentation. And I just love that. I just love it because I feel like there's more opportunity to see just right to the heart of yourself or right to the heart of spirit as you work with the deck. So, all right, let's get into it. So we have our first card here, Affirm. And what I love about this, and this is what caught my attention on the Kickstarter too, is that we have a big primary word and then a little message so that you could just pull out these cards and work with them. You don't necessarily have to have or dip into the guidebook if you don't want to. You have enough here to work with them intuitively, which I really appreciate. So this one says, affirm, believe in yourself, know your truth, and hold it close to you. And our little figure is kind of holding close to their heart. Ask. Ask for what you need. It's okay to have needs. Oh, I love that. I love that they're reaching out kind of hopefully. Be still. Time to simplify, one thing at a time. What is most important to you right now? And this is what I love. I feel like I could do journal prompts right from just these little messages on the cards. Bloom. It's time to blossom into yourself. I love that these figures are semi-transparent. Again, they give you that idea of spirit or energy, which I love, or the soul of you. Breathe. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Find a pace that feels good for you. Center. Center yourself. You're here. Let all the pieces settle as you anchor yourself in the present. Cocoon. It's okay to take the time you need to rest, heal, and feel safe enough to go out in the world. Connect. Reconnect with yourself, with your surroundings, and with your community. Draw. It's time to draw some boundaries. This is really powerful, and I love this, especially because it implies that you don't necessarily have them in the first place, and you're trying to establish them, which is very difficult work, and often I think requires a little encouragement for most of us. Oops. Dream. Let your mind wander, explore, and create. Imagination is boundless and abundant. Examine. Take a closer look. What you are dealing with may appear complicated, but there will always be a thread of truth. This is really cool because this implies that when you're dealing with a complex situation or when you're dealing with something that's got you feeling overwhelmed, or maybe you feel like, you know, something's coming at you and it's not making sense, or it feels like maybe there's something there that you just want to really push against or resist. I feel like this card invites you to look for that core or that thread of truth within even the most challenging situations. And that's something that I find personally helpful. Expand. It's time to take up space and be your fullest, most layered and expansive self. I love the idea of taking up space. It's been really significant in my own life, and I love this message. Express. Take all those thoughts and feelings and let them out through an outlet that feels healthy and right for you. Again, love the encouragement to be in your feelings. Feel. It's important to feel your emotions, even if you feel like you understand them. Yeah, looking at your emotions analytically versus sitting in them and actually experiencing them are two very different things. And as somebody who's historically compartmentalized a lot of that stuff and not really been comfortable feeling my feelings, this is really impactful and really important. And I think anybody who has history with difficult stuff in their background can probably relate to this on some level. Float. Feel the air around you. Let the universe cradle you for a while. I love energy like that. Same thing here. Flow. Lose yourself in a moment, an experience, or an activity. This is to me about being really present. And if you guys saw my planning video, you know that I've set some intentions for 2022 around attention and being present and being mindful. All these things are always important to me, but I feel like a renewed need to focus on them this year. Focus. A time to simplify. One thing at a time. What is most important to you right now? Gather. Feeling scattered? Take inventory of your thoughts and feelings. See them all in one place. Notice any patterns or connections. Oh, man, so useful, these techniques. Give. It's time to share your gorgeous energy with the world. Oh, sorry. Is it time to share your gorgeous energy with the world? Giving mindfully can be a lovely way to connect. It's such a pretty image. I really adore this artwork. Glow. Let your inner light shine. What makes your inner light glow? Ground. Let your surroundings hold you. You are safe. You are here. Ugh. Harvest. Lovely things have been growing in your garden. Let's gather the goods and celebrate. Yeah, what do you have? Like, what wins can you focus on? What can you celebrate? I love that. Hold. Is there a thought or feeling that's asking for your attention? Can you hold it gently and ask it what it needs? Oh, this is so good. I mean, so many of these techniques are things that I've either learned the hard way, like learned how to do like through my own knocks and scrapes and trying to figure it out, or I've picked up through various bits that I've encountered throughout the years. And so much of this is so consistent with the kind of stuff that I found has worked for me to do really intense healing work, that I'm just feeling very seen by this deck, which is kind of how I felt when I first saw it too. It's just really, really great. Home. What does home mean for you? What centers you? Where do you keep returning to? Leap. Let's be brave. Sometimes doing what scares you will take you to amazing places and lead to so much growth. These are written fine, by the way. It's me not wearing my glasses. Okay. Let go. Letting go is so hard, but it'll make room for more lovely things to enter your life. That clinging energy can be really challenging when you feel like you've had things taken away from you, or you feel like you have a hard time establishing that sense of safety for yourself in your personal life. That idea that you can let things go is a good reminder. Listen, pay attention. What are you missing? Tune in to learn and discover something new. I have mentioned this before on my channel, and you can go way back and find decks, but anytime there is a listen card in an oracle deck, it really charms the pants off me because it's such an important lesson for me in my life that I just really resonate with it. Look outside. Maybe we've been staying inside a box. What's outside? What's possible? Ugh. Make space. Let's make some room and clear some space for more wonderful things. Move. Move your body. Shake it out. Your body holds all your feelings. Let's move through them. Good reminder. Nurture. Oh, I think this has a typo on it. It says what you wish to grow. I'm sure it means what do you wish to grow. So what do you wish to grow? How do you wish to be nurtured and cared for? What are your needs? And again, remember, this is a prototype, so this is where you catch these kinds of things, right? So that's normal. Open. Opening up and being vulnerable can be hard, but it can lead to so much growth and connection. Truth. Pause. It's okay to unplug, step out of the stream. It's okay to take your time. Yes. Play. Playful energy can free your mind and heart to explore and discover amazing new things. Question. Time to ask some questions. Why? Why not? Let's complicate and expand. Reach. Does something feel out of reach? All the more reason to stretch that arm out and reach new heights. Recognize. Let's take a look at a big, scary feeling. Let's give it a name. Maybe we could even befriend it. This is so powerful because, again, if you struggle with sitting with your emotions, if you struggle with feeling them, then probably what you're really struggling with is the difficult ones. It's fear, it's anxiety, it's worry, it's grief, it's loss, it's anger. It's the stuff that doesn't look as pretty on the outside. And if you struggle with that, taking the time to really dig in and see if you can look at one of those uncomfortable emotions, one of those scary feelings, that can be really powerful work. Reflect. Looking inward without judgment can lead you to your truth. Reframe. Have you been looking at a situation through only one lens? Do you feel stuck? Let's shake things up. This is so good because, again, it invites a different perspective, particularly when you get bogged down and you're feeling really weighed down by life or by things that are going on in your life. So good. So good. Reset. Push the reset button. Things have been stacking up. Let's go back to basics. Refresh. Step back. Renew. And I mean, the images are so calming and peaceful and like soothing to look at. I love that about this. Root. Who are you? What's your source? What keeps you grounded? Setting some roots down can help you feel safe and present. I love the image here of really energetically setting the roots down. And I do think this would be a really good deck for personal energy work because you can kind of see what that energy looks like in an energetic figure, so to speak. So this says safety. Safety first, always. I say it all the time. Be patient with yourself. Once you feel safe, you can be brave and make some magic. It's okay to just focus on feeling safe. That's all right. Sculpt. Sometimes you need to take the abstract and give it a body. How can you take a feeling or idea and hold it in your hands? Love that. I love that so much. Share. Sharing can be super invigorating and healing. Share your lovely light with your loved ones. Stretch. Stretch those parts of you that you don't use too often. It's refreshing and keeps you flexible. The past. Looking at the past can be painful or comforting. What can you learn from it? What can you let go? Trust. Trust in the unknown. Trust in your loved ones. Trust in yourself. Visualize. Tap into your imagination to create new paths to navigate your inner and outer world. Wonder. It's simply amazing that you're here and you are you. Feel that wonder. Connect with that magic. And zoom out. This one, you guys, really gets me because I am very, and I guess one of my go-to coping skills is to get very compartmentalized, to get very zoomed in, to be looking at things at the details because those are the things I feel like I have more control over. This reminder to zoom out is so powerful. Oh, I knocked the camera. I'm like waving, I'm talking with my hands, but it's so powerful in my own personal life. So this one really, really hits in a good way. It says the big picture can reveal a lot of answers, truths, and unexpected connections. Try taking a step back. And that is our final card. Now, it's worth mentioning that at the time of making this video, as I said, the deck has surpassed 2 of its stretch goals, which means that there is an additional set of astrology cards coming, and I believe element cards coming, which will add to this, of course. But this is the base deck. This is what you're working with. It's really, really lovely. I'm not going to focus. I'm going to shuffle it because it's this prototype is actually a, is it linen? Or is it just... I think it might just be like I think it's just like a thin cardstock. But I'm going to shuffle it. Again, don't judge it by the shuffle because this is a prototype. But it works. It shuffles. It's really pretty. This particular one will fan really beautifully. I already know. I'm loving the cloud backgrounds. I want to talk about a couple decks. I want to kind of compare it to one deck, and I want to show it next to another deck. So let's talk the comparison first. So a lot of you guys know that my go-to deck for working on healing is my Reclaim Oracle. And when I saw this deck, I was like, okay, is it going to compete with the Reclaim? And I think I've ultimately decided that it's not. But, and as an aside, I believe that Marion Costentin is currently taking pre-orders for the next edition of this deck. This is the first edition. I want to show this because they actually do have very, very different energy, and I want to kind of talk about that a little bit because if you are like me and you like this kind of work and you're worried these two will compete, I don't think they will. And I'll kind of tell you a little bit more about why I think that is. So the thing with the Reclaim deck, let's just pull some cards here, is that I feel like the Reclaim is really wonderful for identifying what it is that you're feeling. And so in that way, I feel like these could actually work really, really well together. So for example, here you have resentment, humiliation, surrender. I feel like one of the things that this deck is particularly good at, patience, is helping you to identify a mindset when you're struggling to identify what it is. And then I think this is the kind of thing that I use to sort of poke at my inner self to kind of be like, okay, what's going on in there? What's happening? I feel like this deck is really, really good for that and really good at the healing work and the kind of jumping off point from doing it. Well, I would say that this deck leans much more into shadow in the sense that it kind of encourages you to look at the things that you are not noticing, not looking at. But energetically, this deck feels like it's a very loving poke. It's a very loving poke into the dark places, into the shadowy places, where you might not really know or be ready to say for yourself what's happening. I feel like that's what this deck, where its strong suit is. What I feel like from the I'm Here deck by comparison, or contrast, I guess, with cards like Let Go and Zoom Out and Listen and Breathe, is I feel like it's like, okay, now what? Like, okay, so I've poked at my shadow a little bit. I feel like this is, you know what this is? This is like the aftercare deck. It feels like if I'm doing a session of shadow work, I could actually see having this deck close at hand and specifically leaning into this for what do I do when I'm feeling a little raw and a little sensitive and a little not sure, because I've been doing shadow work. Because one of the things that I feel personally about shadow work is that it makes you feel exposed. It can make you feel really sensitive. It can make you feel a little wounded, a little, if you're not careful, you could get into a place where you're feeling a little broken, right? A little bummed out. And I feel like this deck can be really good at going, okay, you've identified, that's great. Now let's do something with that feeling. Let's do something with that energy. Because I feel like this is more strategies and coping techniques, whereas this is more about identification. And I think that's an important distinction to make if your tarot practice or if your divination practice is about healing and personal growth, then these both could potentially have a place for you. And this is what I realized when I was looking at this, because I was ready to say no to myself. I was getting all these messages about it. And I was like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. And then I looked at it and I was like, wait, this is not like anything else I have. There is one other one, actually, I do kind of want to compare it to, because what I'm really feeling from this, it's very non-traditional. Let me see if I can get this out of my mouth. I'm feeling a self-care vibe from this deck, but not in the traditional way. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So let me grab my other self-care deck. I'm just going to bring you with me because my microphone is like wireless. So I'm just going to grab it off my shelf. It is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle by Jill Pyle. In fact, I was just talking about this because the Sacred Cycle, I think it's called, Oracle deck is coming out by the same creator. So this is the deck that I primarily use right now with my self-care readings. And if any deck in my collection is threatened by the I'm Here deck, it's probably this one. And one thing I'll notice right off the bat is they both have a similar kind of purpley pink pastel kind of color palette. But what I find about the Sacred Self-Care deck, and really about a lot of self-care decks, is that they tend to focus on very tangible activities that you can do, which I do find useful. I find it useful to give clients like self-care homework, which is great. It's very specific. But I feel like it focuses on those tangible, measurable things you can do for self-care, which is useful. Where I feel like with the I'm Here deck, it's still self-care, but instead of it being an activity like read, it's more energetic, like pause, express, recognize, dream. It's more open. I still think that both would be excellent decks for a self-care toolkit, but I feel like this one leans into the specific activities, whereas this leans into things that don't require anything. Nothing in here requires any money for you to go buy something, for you to have a bathtub, for you to have access to anything. It's just like very accessible stuff you can do to care for yourself in a loving way. And I think that's amazing. So I think this has been the deck that I would typically put in my self-care toolkit, but I think this would go in there as well, just as easily, if not more so. And I do think there is a chance that after working with this, I could decide that this is actually more useful to me from a self-care perspective than something that's more tangible like this. I'm not making any hasty decisions. I'm just saying that, like, of the two, this is the kind of self-care I actually do all the time and don't always give myself credit for or even see it as self-care all the time. But it is. This is the sort of true self-care in my practice. The deck I wanted to see how it would look next to is courtesy of several people who commented on my hot takes and said that it might look really good next to the Dream Visions Tarot. So we're just going to do a little looky-loo and see what we think. So backings-wise, they do actually go together better than I thought. This one's got a lot more bold colors, whereas this is very soft. But let's take a look and just see what... This also has holographic edging, so that'll be cool when this is the final version. Oh, okay. So anyway, let's just take a look at what these cards, like here we have the Lovers and we have Focus. Oh, let's zoom in so you guys can see it better. There we go. That's a little better. I actually do think these work really well together. I also think this would go nicely next to a deck that also has sort of otherworldly creatures like Mons Tarot or Whispering Spirits. I feel like it could work well with those decks as well, but it does feel very cohesive with this particular deck, actually. And more so than I was kind of expecting, I'll be honest. This is definitely softer. It gives you that sort of gentle nudge. Yeah, I can see it. What do you guys think? Oh, look at those two together. Oh, those colors, though. Yeah. Yeah, I think those would play very, very nicely together. So this is a recent favorite, the Dream Vision Tarot. And then we have the I'm Here Oracle. So I guess it's just called the I'm Here deck. I don't know that it's called an Oracle deck. And I think really it calls itself an emotional care deck, which I think is incredibly appropriate and feels like exactly what this is. It feels like emotional care in a box. That's what it feels like. Just a way to, people talk about like a hug deck, and this says it's kind of like a hug deck in the Kickstarter campaign, but I think that's true. It does feel like a hug deck. It feels like a hug from spirit. It feels like a little bit of encouragement, but also a little bit of like, oh, okay, that's so pretty. Anyways, it does feel really gentle and loving, but it doesn't feel like it's asking you, it's doing the opposite of asking you to ignore your feelings, right? It's actually asking you to acknowledge and sit with and experience and be present for your feelings, which I think is pretty great. So that is the I'm Here deck. I'm so excited to hear from you guys what you think. Did you back it? Are you going to back it? At the time this video goes up, you'll only have a couple more days to back it on Kickstarter. I'm hopeful that there are going to be more decks available once the Kickstarter is over. Maybe there'll be a pre-order period once the decks are ordered and they're on their way. So definitely keep your eyes out. Even if you see this later and you missed the Kickstarter campaign, keep an eye out on Murphy Pines. I will try to remember to also have a link to their Instagram in the description box so you can follow their social media, especially if you do miss out on the Kickstarter campaign. At the time I'm filming this, I believe the Kickstarter is set to close the morning of January 14th, 2022, which will be, I think, this Friday at the time I'm filming. So we still have some time to get to some more stretch goals. I can't remember what they all are, but there are more coming. We've already hit the first two, and we're hoping to hit the next couple. So keep an eye out for that. Let's see if we can get it to the next stretch goal or 2 or 3, because that would be amazing. I'm real excited for this, and I'm just so grateful to Murphy for sending this to me so I can share it with all of you guys, because I really, really, really wanted this campaign to be successful, and it's already there. Like, we're good. We're good. But, like, if you really are called to this, I would check it out, because I think it's pretty unique and pretty special, and don't miss out. Okay. But that being said, don't FOMO yourself. Check in with Murphy if you need to. Find out if there's going to be more later. Don't feel like you have to rush out and get it right this second. But like, if you want it and it's in your budget and it makes sense, don't sleep on it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be excited without being pushy. Can you tell? Anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you all so much. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it or you found value in it. Subscribe if you're new here, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so you're notified of all my future videos and live streams. Thank you all so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.